Time for a brand new episode of the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. If you're keeping track at home, this is episode number 154. We have a fellow podcaster who's going to join us a little bit later in the show, our good buddy George Ofman. He's got a brand new book out called Tell Me a Story I Don't Know. It's got a number of Chicago sports legends featured in there, including our good friend Stacey King, who joins alongside with Timmy Whispers. Whispers, what's going on?
Whispers.
Well, you know, Stacey's writing a book too.
Yeah?
Oh my God. We'll talk about it later, though.
Okay.
You know what?
A little foreshadowing by Whispers.
Well, it's going to be a foreshadow with a throat punch. Okay? If he says anything that I don't like, it's right in the throat. Ooh.
So, Whispers, you were in court today. What happened?
Oh, for real?
That? Yeah.
Well, sometimes if you do the right thing, it doesn't work out for you.
What are you, Michigan?
Well, yeah, kind of. It's yeah. It's a really sad story. You fix a deck, and then the county comes after you saying you didn't pull a permit.
Yeah.
And I've been to court 4 times now, and I go back in a month.
So did you wear a mustache on the sideline like that kid from Michigan, or what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I put the glasses on, put my head down with that camera.
Bobby Valentine?
Incognito.
Yeah, I think I'm part of this because 2 months ago, the prosecutor said, this is getting felonious. I was like,
No.
For repairing a deck. This could be a
Hey, you
felony.
got to have your permits in order.
Wow.
These kids are really, I mean, it's good
The
to
city
see.
will come after you.
I was worried about the next generation, but you see these young prosecutors trying to be governor in like a month. It's pretty awesome.
Well, it's good. It's good to see that it's just not a problem that happens to me.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
It happens to you, too.
Sometimes it happens to red people as well.
Yeah, red people. Yeah, I'm glad to see that.
What do you mean, you red people?
You people. I said, you people.
You hot dog people.
Yeah, you little red-skinned people.
Just
Larry
like
the Lobster. I'm glad to see you had to go through the court. I'm not the only one that had to go. Okay.
You get a sport coat on and everything.
Oh, you get to go there next week, too.
That'll be
For
fun.
a different case. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
You look into your neighbor's window? What is it?
No, I'm trying to help someone with a title, and they called the state police. And then this black guy calls me. Did I tell you this?
No.
Oh, it's hilarious. He goes, hey, they need their title, or I'm going to come pay you a visit. And I said, oh, really?
Was he going to rough you up or what?
I said, yeah, sure you are. Okay. And I'm being like a smartass to him. And then last week, with my office full here, this state cop walks in. He's totally jacked. He walks right into my office. He's like, I didn't appreciate your smart-ass comments.
Wait a minute. Hold up. The guy you was talking trash to on the phone?
It's a bad road rage incident.
And also I'm like, oh, shit. He's going to give me a meeting right
He
here.
was a state police officer?
Yeah, and he goes, he's like, I didn't
man.
appreciate your comments. I'm like, well, actually, I didn't think you were real. I thought it was
See, being a smartass gets you in trouble.
oh, yeah.
He was going to get beat up in his own office.
Yeah.
For real?
And after he left, because he was kind of, salty, which I don't blame him because I was pretty rude
Then you
to
told
him.
all your coworkers he's lucky because I've got that.
Listen, I would have choked him
martial
out.
arts training.
I would have choked him out. I trained with Andre Arvelovsky, and I would have choked him out in seconds. He's big,
He's lucky he left.
Yeah, he's got more muscles on him than I do, but I would have choked his big ass out.
Oh, yeah, it was entertaining. It was great. Then
Man, the life of Whispers. You should write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me something I need to learn.
I'm surprised you didn't try to say it was Rich that said it. That's the guy right there. See that guy right there? He's one of you were talking about.
That's Tim over there.
Yeah. I think Rich would have taken one for the team, though.
Oh, yeah, he'd do that. He's just dumb enough to do it.
Yeah, he would have taken one for the team.
Now he's calling him dumb. Jeez.
Wow.
Oh, no, I mean that in the nicest way.
What a friend. So he calls one of his best friends dumb.
Shout out to Rich.
Rich, if you're listening, man, we know you are.
He'll jump in front.
Listen, it
Grab
wasn't
for
me
a
and
bullet.
Mark. Me and Mark.
It was your buddy
boy.
Whispers. Threw you under the
Your boy
bus.
threw you under
Yeah.
the bus.
Man.
Yeah. Well, Stacey's seen it. What are you harassing this guy for?
Oh, man. I wish I'd have been here and saw that.
Yeah.
Was it a black guy?
Oh yeah, he was jacked. And he's like, his warm out short sleeve shirt on. He's flexing a little bit. He's got the traps going. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
How did he find you?
I have no idea. He is the state police.
Yeah.
Then he started asking him some questions, and I threw that then back at him. You mean you don't know that because you are the state police, right? He's like, that's how this started. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh my gosh. The food delivery people can't find us, but the state police tracked you down.
Oh, like nothing.
Oh man, the life of Whispers. He usually says nothing. Now you've got some behind the scenes
you got
and
some
what
behind
this
the
guy's
scenes.
all about.
Because I'm always in court. That's what keeps
Just
me
like
red.
Whispers.
Wow.
He was getting ready to get knocked out.
The Whispers fan club growing day by day. Wow. Hey, Stacey's in the middle of a rare break from the NBA schedule. 3 days off in a row. I mean, the start of the season's been crazy. Been going here, there, and everywhere. The Bulls have already played 9 games.
It's been brutal. It's been brutal, Mark. I'm out here on pure heart and determination. America, I just want to say the hip is 100%. I'm no longer using apparatuses to walk around. No more canes. My little pimp cane's gone now. I'm healthy. I'm walking around and chasing people around the house.
He's still going to use you as a crutch, D. Don't worry about it.
No. Yeah, I saw Mike doing push-ups in the parking lot when I came.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, that's my bodyguard out there. Yeah. Okay, he's a 5th degree blue belt.
Tim's going to need to get a bodyguard pretty soon. Get the state police after him.
Yeah, he's Don't ask for me.
My skills are declining. Yeah. I mean, I'm afraid of even Elon Musk now fighting Zuckerberg.
That's the type of thing you walk out to your car. Tim's walking out to the car, and the guy's waiting for him in the parking lot. Let's finish out what you just said, and he's out there by himself. He got no help. Me and you gone.
I heard he's a big fan of the podcast, so be careful what you say.
Actually, he was.
Oh, that's good.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that was hilarious. He's like,
shout out.
I thought he was going to mad at me about that. He actually says, why you got a Stacey King sticker and this stuff in your office?
Oh, no.
Don't drag me into this.
Yeah. Hey, leave us out of it, all right?
I don't want somebody showing up at my house.
I said, Stacey's one who sold that car. It wasn't me.
No, don't put me in this. I don't want some big dudes coming to my house because I ain't the one.
And I said, if he doesn't have answers, Shanowski does.
Oh, God.
See?
Jeez.
Teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, America.
Great to have a teammate like Whispers ready to throw you under the bus at a moment's notice.
I know, moment's notice.
Hey, speaking of throwing under the bus, what's going on with the Bulls right now, Stacey?
Wait, Mark, way to throw him under the bus. Listen, America, okay, it's no time to panic. I know you want to hit the panic button. I get into these Twitter conversations with Bulls Nation all the time.
People are jittery.
Yes, I'm optimistic. Okay, I'm always going to be looking at the bright side. No, there's not a lot of bright side right now. They've got to find ways to win games. Like, it comes down to the fourth quarter. It's been about 4 of their 9 games where those games could have been won.
Either way,
and it could have went either way. And whether it's shot selection, whether it's a defensive breakdown, it's something that always kills them down the stretch. And last night they had an opportunity to put Phoenix away. Phoenix was a 6-minute mark, they had not scored. And the Bulls could not, extend the lead out on them because there were turnovers, turnovers here, turnover there, bad shot here and there. Your big 3 guys played, they played well, but not well enough to win.
And Zach didn't score in the fourth quarter or overtime.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating because, you see that they're right there, the cusp of turning the corner. And all of a sudden, it's like a bungee cord pulls them right back to where they are, where they're not going to win. And they've got to find ways to put all the, the one-on-one, the isolations, because it seems like they wait till the fourth quarter to do that. They play the right way for 3.5 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, it's like, well, I'm gonna go off kilter a little bit, off script. I'm going to get mine. Yep. And that's why they're losing.
Bulls did a pretty good job against Kevin Durant. Alex Caruso, giving up about 6 or 7 inches, did a great job of getting up into his body, making things uncomfortable. But they lost sight of Grayson Allen way too many times. At 8 of 13 from three-point range. And everybody, hates Grayson Allen for that cheap shot on Caruso a couple of years ago. And then he's the guy that really was the difference in the game.
Listen, and I said this last night on the broadcast, you can hate that kid all you want to. Okay, because he is a dirty player, does some cheap shots. And he really doesn't have to do that because he's really a good basketball player. The kid was a McDonald's All-American. He's a starter at Duke. The kid can play basketball. He had big shots in Milwaukee. He was. I consider him now a Bulls killer because he plays well against the Bulls. All the antics to the side, the guy makes shots. And whether you love him or hate him, he's one of those guys, Mark, you hate him when he's on the other team, but if he's on your team, you love him, okay? I don't know how you leave that guy wide open all the time. There was some shots, Mark. There was no one near him for 10 feet, and he was just squaring up, shooting the basketball. I thought they spent too much time worrying about Kevin Durant and trying to make sure he doesn't get off. That guys lost attention to where Grayson Allen was, and Phoenix does a great job of passing. They had over 30 assists yesterday, and Kevin Durant, what separates him from a lot of superstar players, is he actually does make players around him better. He doesn't get a lot of credit for that because everybody looks at his scoring and they're like, wow, this guy can really score the basketball. But he's a very unselfish superstar player. Like, he gets everybody involved. He reads double teams. I get doubled. Here, you shoot it. He's not one of these guys that's going to force a shot or try to force his scoring on the team. He's going to make the right basketball play. And I tell you what, he's fun to watch.
Caruso was the big bright spot, the shining light from that game. He was all over the court. You were talking about it looked like there were 5 Carusos out there. He was diving on the floor,
The flying
getting
Carusos.
rebounds,
Great
hitting 3-point shots. And Kevin Durant had a lot of praise for him after the game. He says, hey, forget about talking about this guy as a role player. He said this guy would be valuable in any team's starting lineup, and the Bulls are lucky to have him.
Well, and the crazy thing about it, Mark, is he plays out of position. He's a guard, and he's guarding power forwards and centers. And he's always.
You don't care.
Listen, he's guarding the
honey
best
badger.
player. He's guarding the best player every single night, and the one thing you worry about him is that he's guarding these guys that weigh 30 pounds more than him, 40 pounds more than him. He's banged up. He's on the bench. He's icing, heating his elbow. He's got a banged up elbow right now where he fell on his elbow. The guy takes charges. I just wish everyone played with the same tenacity that he plays with on the Bulls team. When they come out like a Patrick Williams, how can you sit on the sideline and watch this guy do all the stuff that he does and not want to play that way, not want to come out and have a motor? Not want to come out and lay it on the line. This guy comes out every single night, no matter what the situation. If you're up 20, down 20, he's going to play hard every single night. And if you had 3 more of those Carusos, 3 more players like that, I'm telling you. I mean, and I see Javon Carter being one of those guys. I see Torrey Craig being one of those guys with those high motors. They come out and they do whatever is necessary for the team to win. If you had, Patrick Williams played that way, you got Kobe, played that way. I tell you what, man, this team might be in a better situation.
Bulls were really impressive in winning on Monday against the Utah Jazz, shot over 50% from three-point range, had a number of guys in double figures. And I know that's the kind of offense that Billy Donovan envisions, a kind of a share-the-wealth offense. Javon Carter's been hitting the 3 at a really good clip lately, and I think that bench unit is really emerging as something that can be a force as the season comes on.
Yeah, and if they can get Patrick Williams to play consistent, coming off the bench. I thought Javon Carter over the last 5 or 6 games has really, solidified himself coming off the bench. I think Io, with the minutes that he's getting, has played extremely well.
And the big cat.
And then Drummond. I've said this all along. Drummond has to play. There's no way in the world that Andre Drummond shouldn't play more than 20, play less than 25 minutes a night. I mean, because he's your best offensive rebounder. He's great in the pick and roll defense. He gets a steal a night off the pick and roll defense. He can guard guards. He just does so many of the intangible things that you want out of him. You see his numbers. He's only averaging 6 points a game, but that's not even telling how many minutes he plays. I think he's like 10, 11 minutes, and he's putting up those kind of numbers. So they got to get him back, get him a little bit more minutes. And then, they've got to find a way to get Patrick Williams to play a certain way. Like, now, you're not starting anymore. Now you're playing off the bench. How can we get you to be the player that we need you to play with this second group? How can we get you to play with these guys? You see his numbers. I mean, this kid is better than 5.6 points a game.
Yeah.
And 3.4 rebounds. I mean, he's better than that. His numbers are completely down from where they used to be the last few years. Look at his field goal percentage, 32%. He's shooting 23% from the three-point line, but he continues to shoot threes. That's the one thing I would eliminate if I was Billy Donovan. I would cut that and say, hey, listen, we want you to put the ball on the floor. We're going to put you in situations in the pick and roll where you can dive to the basket. We're going to put you in situations where we want you to run the floor, get out in transition, and finish on the break. I think he spends way too much time at the three-point line, and he continues to shoot them, and he's just floating, and it's not really doing him any good. And you see the numbers. I mean, the last few games, he's been pretty much non-existent.
Bulls have some home games coming up, but they've got to be able to close, as you mentioned. They're 2-3 in clutch games, which are defined by a 5-point spread in the last 5 minutes of the game. They got a back-to-back. They play in Milwaukee on Monday, but then you got the Magic, and you got back-to-back games at the United Center. Then the Miami Heat come in. So you'd hope that you could win some of these games at home, but it's really just about execution. There's no one's ever questioning the Bulls' individual talent. It's just a question of can they close games and win those clutch games late.
Well, and what's surprising about that is you got veteran guys. You got your 3 best players are veterans. There's guys that got multiple years, 10 plus years in this league, which is really surprising when it comes down to clutch time. You got 3 guys that know they've been there, done that. They've been in this league a long time. You would think that closing a game would be easy for them. But for some reason it's not. They're struggling. And I think it's because you don't know which guy you want to close the game out. The last year was DeMar. It was always DeMar closing the game out. And now it's like, Zach wants to close the game. They want to put Zach in that position. Zach right now is his ball handling kind of hurts you down the stretch. I mean, he loses the ball a little bit too much, turns the ball. He has to value possession of the basketball, especially in the last 5 minutes of the game. If you're going to be that guy, Mark, that means you got to take care of the basketball. You can't turn the ball over. And I think, lately he's been turning the ball over. I think Billy Donovan wants him to be the guy that closes, but it's not happening. And then they don't really play through Vooch a lot, down the stretch. Vooch has missed a lot of easy baskets.
Yeah, I noticed that.
He's missed. There's probably if you probably look at how many shots he misses around the rim, it could be anywhere between 5 and 7 shots that he's missing like around the baskets. He's got to convert those. If he converts those shots, it makes it easier for them down the stretch.
Bulls aren't the only team. They're off to a slow start. Phoenix came in with a losing record to the United Center and had to struggle to get an overtime win. The Lakers have lost 5 straight on the road. Anthony Davis already missed a game with hip spasms last night. The Clippers looked downright awful in the first 2 games with James Harden.
Ooh.
Their offensive efficiency went right into the tank. But we saw a team that looks like they may be your first back-to-back champion in a while in Denver last Saturday, Stacey.
Hey.
With Jokic in that group. Now, Jamal Murray's going to miss several weeks with that hamstring strain, but still, that is a team that has such good chemistry, and Mike Malone has a good sense of how to substitute, how to ride the pulse of that team, much like Phil Jackson had with your group.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that I was really waiting to see with this team is would they have the hangover? Winning that first championship, the partying and all that stuff that goes on, when you win the championship, how serious would they be coming back, at least early in the season? I've been very surprised at the way they have came businesslike. It's the same thing what happened to us when we won our first championship. Once you get there, because you got to go through all these trials and tribulations to get there. Denver had to do that. Denver had to go through some tough times. They've always been a team that won 50 games, and they've always been a team you talked about, Mark, that has an opportunity to play deep in the playoffs, but they've always had key injuries. You lose Murray out with the Achilles, and you got Michael Porter Jr.'s out with a back injury. So they're never healthy. Last year they put it all together. They got everybody healthy, and you saw what happened. So now they've tasted the honey. They don't want to taste anything else now. And you can tell by the way they play. We did that game the other night. They came out businesslike, and you saw Jokic. Jokic is a superstar that doesn't need to score to be great. He can make everybody else better. But when he got mad, when Vooch scored on him a couple of times, you could tell he clicked on like, okay, wait a minute. Oh, this dude's trying to score on me. Yeah. Then he went right down there and asked for the ball like 3 straight times, and he hit 3 straight baskets, and you're like, wow, this dude is the real deal.
Mentioned the Lakers off to a slow start. LeBron James is averaging something like 37 minutes a game. They have to play him because when he's not out there, the team really struggles. They thought they had answered their questions about depth with some of their offseason moves, but this team still revolves around LeBron, and unless Anthony Davis can be that co-star, it's not a very good team.
Yeah, everybody's chasing Denver right now. I don't really see any team close to them. It's Denver, and then there's like a huge drop off with everybody else. I mean, people thought it was Golden State. Golden State to me is too small. I think the Lakers, they don't know really what they want to do. Everybody thinks because LeBron's on your team that you're going to have a chance to win. Yeah, your chances to win is better than some teams are, but LeBron is hard to play with because if you don't know how to play without the basketball, and a lot of these guys don't know how to play without the basketball in their hands, they need the ball in their hands to create. And when he has the ball in his hands when he's on the floor, it makes it difficult for guys to get into a flow or get into a rhythm. Anthony Davis is still the key to their team. I still don't think they're big enough to mess with Denver because as long as Jokic is healthy, no one's going to be able to deal with him, and Anthony Davis included. So they're going to have to figure out some way of getting the right combinations of guys on the floor with LeBron that can play with LeBron. Right now, they're having a hard time finding that group.
What'd you think about Victor Wenbanyama? He's struggled a little bit this week. Didn't have a great game at the Garden on Wednesday, but he had the 38-point game last week, which kind of put him on the landmark. Like, this kid, we knew he was going to be special, but to have that kind of game that early in his career said, look out, rest of the league.
Well, I mean, I got a chance to see him against Phoenix, and he had a chance to go head-to-head against Durant. And, not too many people can go head-to-head with Durant, and Durant makes everybody look small. I mean, even last night, he looked like a giant when Caruso was guarding him, okay? Yeah. And he can shoot over anybody on the floor. He struggled with the length of Victor. Victor was, like, right with him, and he was trying to trade basket for basket. This kid is going to be a generational talent. I mean, you can just tell he has a great feel for the game. He's only going to get stronger. His IQ is already there. He's got high basketball IQ, and he's a phenomenal talent. He's a phenomenal athlete. Being able to switch out and pick and rolls and stay in front of guards who are quick, but to be able to move his feet, be able to, it's not even, he's so long, Mark, he doesn't have to get up and switch into denial. He can just stay back, and his reach can cover. If a guard says, okay, you're going to be off me 5 feet, I'm going to shoot this. No, you won't, because he can close out and block that shot and then go off on the fast break and dunk the ball. So you're looking at a generational talent. This kid in a few years is going to be defensive player of the year. He's going to probably be an MVP candidate, and he's going to probably take the Spurs team to a finals. That's how good he is, America.
So I mentioned the Bulls have a lot of home games coming up. You might see our good buddy Jeff Vukovich in the crowd. He's a big supporter of the Bulls and all of Chicago's sports teams. Remember, when it comes to insurance for your auto, home, and business, make sure you contact the king of insurance. He's our good friend, nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. You can reach him at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. And Stacey's got the best jingle in the business.
Nationwide is on your side.
There you go. Jeff Vukovich. Contact him for all your insurance needs. Why don't we bring in our good buddy Christopher Walken to tell the folks how they can get some hot sauce. It's flying off the shelves right now.
That's right. We just did a deal that's going to be handed out at the wedding, and the Toastmaster himself recorded a toast earlier to celebrate L'chaim with this wonderful wedding. That is
Way to go,
up.
Chris. That was good.
That's right. I am half Jewish. No one knows that, but it's all right. So anyhow, one of the things that people don't know is that we do toast and we do hand out hot sauce at weddings, but also we have these special codes to get free sauce. But in every box, you do get some stickers. And
Stickers?
That's right. Not for the Foo Fighters, but just stickers. Put them on your folders, put them on your computer, put them on your bumper. I don't care. And then we put in the Stacey King man card.
Oh, yeah.
People don't know.
That's a lot of fun.
There's rules out there you got to live by,
Yeah.
such as hydrate with beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Keep your hands to yourself. Don't be rubbing it on another man.
Yeah.
That's maybe one of your rules.
Just like whiskey.
You like somebody rubbing on you, Christopher?
No, my point is it's not in your card.
People have questioned your sexuality.
Yeah.
They don't understand a lot of things about me, and that's the way I like it. But nonetheless,
Our guy D is looking at him like he's
don't
crazy.
freaking encourage him, Mark. Oh, my God.
just go and buy some sauce at GimmeTheHotSauce.com and use the code WalkInQ, WalkInFire, and get a free bottle. I mean, it's so easy.
And she'll like it, too.
There you go. Hey, coming up next on Gimme the Hot Sauce, our good buddy George Ofman. He's going to tell us a story we don't know. His new book hits the shelves next week. Make sure you pick up a copy. He's our special guest next on Gimme the Hot Sauce. It is now our pleasure to welcome this week's special guest, our good friend George Ofman. He does an outstanding podcast, Tell Me a Story I Don't Know. He also has a great book that's out of the same name, and he's kind enough to join us from his palatial home. He's got his 5 o'clock somewhere shirt going. George, thanks so much for joining us, making time for us. I know the book comes out next week. A labor of love, I'm sure, visiting with so many of the big names in the world of Chicago sports.
That's a great, apt description. It is a labor of love. The podcast was a labor of love, and writing the book was a labor of love. And first and foremost, I thank you, Mark, for being such a loyal guy and retweeting and doing stuff on Facebook. I appreciate it. And the guests that we had were great. And we had 5 Bulls guests, including the guy in the middle.
There you go.
You were so good. We did 2 parts.
Oh, I'm just a man sitting next to the man, George, Anything for a good friend.
Hey, George, it's funny. When I came to Chicago, I'll tell you a story that you don't know. Well, you kind of know, but maybe not the full details of it. I came to Chicago in April of 1990. And I started at Channel 7, and they said, the first thing we're going to do, Blackhawks are about to go into the playoffs. We're going to put you on the hockey beat. And I'm like, oh, great. They don't have an NHL team in Milwaukee. I really wasn't covering the league that closely at all. And so I'm like, well, you know what? I think the best thing I can do is just like kind of stay in the background and listen to some of the veterans and kind of pick my ways. And as I was starting to follow the team, Mike Keenan could be really ornery at times with the media. And there was one particular radio reporter who constantly got under his skin, and I'm thinking, who is this guy? And then finally I realized it was George Ofman. Mike, in exasperated fashion, would go, "Oh, George," he got so tired of your questions. But one of the things that I learned was that you had the style of being direct and trying to get what you knew that your listeners wanted to know. There's so many reporters that sugarcoat questions, and you went right at Mike Keenan. I think that even though he probably was irritated at times, he really had a sense of respect for the fact that you were a straight shooter.
It's interesting because I always had philosophy, get the desired response. That's the way I looked at it. Get the desired response. For me, that was the questions I wanted to have him answer that I thought, in fact, the public wanted to hear. I mean, I did that with all of those interviews. And as you could tell, I'm a little guy, so I would sneak in here. When Michael Jordan was here, gosh, he did. There were 3 different interviews he would do. And it was always me and Jim Rose. Jim was standing next to him, but I would find my way to slip right in. And there I was in the front. Because listen, I wanted to ask those first questions. I always did. It was fun. As for Keenan, he was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he was. He was very tough to deal with. And, it's kind of interesting. People thought that was going to be the team that was going to break the jinx for the Hawks. And they advanced for a while. But I remember the year they won the President's Cup trophy. I think they lost to the North Stars in the first round. And I think that was the beginning of the end for Mike Keenan.
Well, they did make the Stanley Cup Finals in 1992. That's when I began at the Score. And just a couple of months later, I'm in Pittsburgh covering the Blackhawks, and then you're back home and you got the Bulls in the championship and the Blackhawks in the championship in the stadium every night. It was fabulous. That was a wonderful feeling to do that. And there's Stacey King. We're talking to Stacey King. I tried to remember this, Stacey, and my memory is a little difficult at this time. I don't think you were the funny guy then that you are now. Were you?
In the locker room. Not in the public eye, but in the locker room.
Not in the media.
Yeah, in the because I was always in the locker room, just cracking up jokes, doing imitations of people's voices, and kept the team loose, and we had a lot of fun with it. And then as I got older, it started to seep out. I couldn't control it anymore.
Well,
it overwhelmed me.
You mentioned that in the book, which is interesting because I also mentioned how Jerry Krause tried to stifle your personality, which is, you can't do that. You have to be who you are. And you were. And thankfully, some guy named Derrick Rose came. And when he did, I think a lot of catchphrases came with him.
Yeah. I was very blessed. Chicago's we were talking about this today. Chicago's had some really iconic broadcasters, analysts work there. Johnny Red Kerr got a chance to work with Michael Jordan, and that had to be, I know what it was like working with Derrick Rose. I know what he was, and I played on the team, and I know how exciting that must have been for him to be able to see a championship team, to see Michael Jordan ascend to be the greatest basketball player on the planet. And, who knew? I never knew I would be in this broadcasting, field. I never thought I'd be there. I thought I'd be coaching. And, just by chance, Jerry says, "Hey, hey, do you want to do radio?" And I didn't want to do radio at the time because radio is very hard to do because the listeners you have to paint a picture to the listeners. You have to pretty much say every detail that's going on. But in TV, it's easier because people see everything that goes on. You don't have to explain everything. But I came back a couple of years later, and then I'm doing TV. So. It's been a really cool journey, seeing where I've come from and where I was, where I started and where I'm at now. So I think people now get a chance to. I think more people know me as the broadcaster now than they did as a college player or a player.
Absolutely, and you're perfectly paired with another guy in the book, Amin, who is very interesting because during the course of the podcast that I did, there were some people that I never met. And Adam was one of them because when I was let go at WBBM in July of 2020, I had never met him. I heard him on TV. It was great. So I said, "Adam, I'd love for you to do the podcast, but can we get together for dinner so I can meet you?" And we did. And that was great because it kind of paved the way for a terrific interview. And in the book, we talk about something that we share in common. First, we're little guys.
Yeah.
Second, we're the babies of our family, and we're the only ones born in the United States. So there's kind of a symbiotic relationship there. But you guys are terrific. You're great on the air. And for me, I've always felt that, and some people disagree, you're watching the game to watch the game, right? You're listening to the game to listen to the game. But there are people who enhance the broadcast. You do that. Jason Benetti did that for the White Sox. Certain guys, Harry Carey, for example, you sometimes will watch the game because you want to hear certain people. You're one of them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a great town to work, and Chicago fans are the best. And they love their broadcasters. We're talking about Benetti leaving today. I mean, I just found out this morning. And I tell you what, that hit me like right in the stomach because I never saw that coming. And he's great at what he does. He comes over, fills in for Adam when Adam's doing football. And I really enjoy working with Jason Benetti. He's one of the best in the business. I'm quick-witted. When I work with him, it's like Wimbledon. It's like two of the best tennis players in the world, and they're trying to win the big trophy, and we're volleying back and forth. And I'm not gonna lie, not too many people can go with me one-on-one. He's one of the people that can go with me. When I'm done doing a broadcast with Jason Benetti, I'm like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I'm like, oh, what a match! But everybody else it's easy. But he is very good at what he does.
Well, you do games with Mark too.
Yes,
I noticed that he always.
You know what? Listen, Mark. Listen, let me tell you about Mark, George. Mark has come a long way. He's an iconic figure in Chicago as far as sports is concerned. People don't know that Mark never did any of these games. He's never done an NBA game, and he started doing these NBA games last year.
I did a couple of years ago, but last year was the first time I did it regularly.
Yeah. So to not have like that ultimate experience doing it, you would never know. And so, him working with me and we do this podcast together, and then him being able to come in and do a Bulls game and people get a chance to see how good he really is and appreciate him like, hey, he's just not a guy that reads a teleprompter. This guy actually knows sports because he was doing, Bulls pre and post game for years and is really good at that. And then now to be able to come down and do a game and the Bulls allowed him to do that, I think he's shown a whole different side that he can do a lot. He's very talented. And I think now people realize that.
Wow, it's a mutual admiration society. We got to get some dirt. Hey, let's get back to the book. We're live on YouTube, George. So hold up the book. Tell me a story I don't know. It's going to be released to the public next week, I understand.
Yes.
So they
right
get it
now,
any bookstore.
It's currently available on Amazon for pre-order, but it'll be released next Tuesday.
A great cast of interviews that you did on the podcast and are still doing. Tell us. Maybe something that surprised you, maybe somebody that kind of, I know that your interviewing style is to try to get past the surface stuff and try to get some behind the scenes stories and maybe some emotion. Did anybody really bare their soul or say something that kind of surprised you that, wow, I didn't know anything about that?
Bare their souls. The first couple of people I think of are Dan McNeil. Dan McNeil wears his emotions on his sleeve and he will say anything. And unfortunately, sometimes when he said anything, it got him fired.
Right, yeah.
Peggy Kaczynski was a terrific interview. She was very upfront and very vulnerable because she discussed the incident with Patrick Kane, where she asked him a really dumb question. And, it was not so much dumb. She just didn't know. But when that situation happens, you'd like to just hand that person the shovel and have them dig themselves out. But it turned out to be terrible because it made social media. And she really discussed that. So I appreciated that. Dave Revson, who's wonderful.
We had him on our podcast,
he tells a story. I don't want to give it away, but he tells a story that, I don't know, it was maybe 20 years ago. He and his wife were on Martha's Vineyard. They had their first child. He wanted to get away, so he was looking for a golf game. He found a foursome, and he wound up playing with one of the most notorious figures of the 20th century. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, wow.
Donald Trump?
I don't know if I'd call him the most notorious person of the 20th century, no, but it wasn't Donald Trump.
Right.
But it's interesting. Dave Wanstead, you guys know, probably was telling stories out of the womb, and they were probably stories about the Dallas Cowboys. He's an incredible storyteller.
Yes, he is.
Oh my gosh. And he tells a great story of the day that he was hired and the press conference that was going to take place. It's worth reading. This is all part of bringing people to life. Mm-hmm. Same thing with you, Stacey. Stuff from Oklahoma which was wonderful, your career there. And so all of that, and then you put it in a book, and each one of these vignettes, there's 50 of them in there, are somewhere between 1,300 and 1,700 words. So I will give a little bio, discuss my relationship with him, and then we get into a couple of the stories. And I loved writing it as much as I loved doing the podcast. Yes, it was really a joy to do it.
How long did it actually take you to finally complete it and get all the interviews in and finally get the book to where it's ready to go? How long did it take you?
Not that long, about 4 months, but remember, the research was already there.
Yeah.
I've already done the research. Now it was a matter of picking the people through Triumph Books. And by the way, I have to give hats off to Triumph Books. They're so professional. I've dealt with like a half dozen people, and they've been just awesome. And the cover back in front of this book is just terrifically done. So I had to listen to these podcasts again and figure out which stories fit best and how to write around them. Probably each one took about 3 hours. So it wasn't all that difficult. But, and now here I am doing something I never thought I would do, a book tour.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing a book tour.
Wow.
You think that was in my future? I didn't think so.
Whispers, what do you got for George?
Well, I was going to tell him about Stacey's new book called Pain in My Ass, and I'm chapter 1, you're 16. But
Wow.
Sorry. But yeah, so talking about great articles that you wrote, going back to the day with Reinsdorf and these other people out there. And you had the one with Greg Gumbel where he said things like this podcast and sports radio are ridiculous. What's your opinion of that now? And do you think it's ridiculous?
Well, no, Greg Gumbel. I mean, I was watching Greg Gumbel when he began here in 1973. He was on Channel 5. And remember, Brent Musburger, who I just interviewed, and he's going to be on this podcast in a couple of weeks, he was on Channel 2 in 1968. Greg Gumbel, when he went to Madison Square Garden, he was on WFAN. They hired him. He hated talk radio. From then, he hated talk radio. And that made kind of news. He just simply didn't like it. He thinks it's a bunch of people shouting at one another. So that wasn't his idea of what he wanted to do. As it turns out, Greg Gumbel has done a ton in this business. It's amazing how many things. He replaced Brent Musburger when he was fired from the NFL Today, or fired from CBS. So he took over the NFL Today. Look what he's doing now. I think he's 76. He's still a huge figure in sports. So is Brent Musburger, all these guys. I was talking to somebody the other day. How about Hubbie Brown, Stacey?
Yeah.
Did a game last night.
And he's sharp as a tack.
I'm telling you what, I mean, it's amazing listening to Hubbie Brown. I think him and Doug Collins, in my opinion, are two of the best analysts ever to do the games. And listening to him, you just learn so much from him. He gives you a whole different perspective. And I respect guys like that. I mean, I have no problem. I miss Doug Collins. I miss Doug Collins doing games, because with Doug and Hubbie, you feel like they're explaining the game in layman's terms to the average person who may not understand the game. And that's where I kind of get a lot of my stuff from, is when I'm explaining things from a basketball perspective. I think about those two guys, and I've learned a lot from those two guys as far as how I present, how my presentation is to fans.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of Jim Durham, who I think is the best play announcer in the history of this city, because he could paint the picture. It's like you were watching the game on radio. That is a great compliment. He was the best.
Yeah, JD. I worked with JD a lot doing college games, and I tell you what, boy, when he was with the Bulls, when he was with the Bulls, and my first year, was his last year here, and so when he left, I was like, wow, man, this guy is really, really good. And then I got a chance to work on the ESPN, and boy, I mean, we both came in. We were last minute replacement for a Baylor versus Texas A&M, a Big 12 game. He knew nothing about either one of those teams. Knew nothing about it. But you would not have known that he did not know anything about those teams. When the lights came on, this is when you know is a true professional. He had no notes, and he just started just rattling off things. I'm like, okay, is this guy a machine? Like he's just said he knew nothing about these two teams, and all of a sudden he played for so and so AAU coach, and I'm like.
He was sandbagging you. He did his research.
He's awesome.
There's no question. Hey, George, a lot of people probably still associate you with the Score, even though you haven't been there for a long time. You were one of the Score originals when it first came on the air. That was landmark radio. There weren't many cities that were doing, then it was a daytime station when it first came on. But, you look back at, you mentioned Dan McNeil and Terry Boers and Tom Scher and so many, the original cast. People take it as something that is always going to be there. But back in the early 90s when that first came on the air, that was some groundbreaking stuff. What's your reflections on the start of the Score and how it's grown into this incredible powerhouse media outlet?
It's 1992, January 2nd, so it's going to be 32 years from now. And I'll always remember when I was hired, which was just like 5 days beforehand on my birthday. And I believe another guy was hired on the same day, Mike Greenberg.
Yes.
Who wrote the foreword to this book.
Right.
Sensational. Greeny, and let me sidetrack for a second. Greeny mentions that I was the first person he worked with professionally, which is true. This was WMAQ All News 67 back in 1989. It was different. I was hired as a reporter and eventually an anchor, and I knew pretty much everyone except one guy, Mike North, and that was an experience in itself. And he's the guy, by the way, and he's in the book, and he discusses how he convinced the then owner, Dan Lee, who owned the frequency 820 and of course owned WXRT. He was going to turn it into a jazz station, and he convinced Dan Lee to turn it to an all sports station. He did. The rest is history. It was getting used to a lot of things. Suddenly, the journalist became the drapes in the room. That's what I was. I would come in. I would get the crap kicked out of me by Dan and Terry and by Northern Chickens. And you know what, Stacey and Mark? I would give it back.
That's right. You gave it to him.
You had to.
Yeah. Those were some interesting times. There was no holds barred, especially when we went to being a 24-hour station.
Not only that,
incredible stuff.
I'll mention something really quickly. People still remember when I used the term, and it really came out of nowhere. When Sammy Sosa hit a home run, I called it a towering line drive.
I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
I still get it on social media. In May, it'll be 30 years since that happened, and I still get people asking, was that a towering line drive?
Does that qualify? Yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
I got to ask you about Greenberg, because I remember when he started out, he was a guy that was so inquisitive and just wanted to learn about the business. I remember at the old Hallis Hall, they had that tiny little press room when you first walked in, and he would be there, as an apprentice reporter trying to get the lay of the land. And to be honest, he was kind of annoying. He'd ask a bunch of questions, and he was so unsure of himself. He just wanted to make sure that he wasn't missing what was the big story of the day. Then he went to CLTV, which had no audience, and was doing some anchoring there, and he was really rough. And I'm thinking, wow, I wonder what's going to happen to this kid. Now he's probably making about $10 million a year. He could buy and sell all of us.
Well, and that's exactly what he was when he first worked with me in 1989. He was kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass, but what he really was a guy who was trying to learn it. It didn't take long for us to become friends, because I really appreciated the fact that he wanted to learn as much as possible. And what really helped his career was not only covering the World Cup in 1994, but earlier than that, when Michael Jordan decided to go to baseball. I remember Ron Gleason, who was the program director at the Score. I was covering both the White Sox in Sarasota and the Cubs in Mesa. I said, where would you like to go? I'm going to stick with the Cubs. Interesting decision. Greeny went to cover the White Sox, and I think that catapulted his career a great deal. So suddenly in 1996, Mike Greenberg is going to ESPN.
I know, yeah. And
his career just shot from there, and I'll tell you one thing, he's a wonderful human being. He's the same person he is today as he was then, which is really a compliment to him.
Yeah, my first introduction to Mike, he was running around with his little tape recorder and the little handheld little microphone that's connected to it, and he'd always come up to you because no one would talk to him. None of the Bulls players would talk to him. So he'd come up to me because I was a rookie at the time, and he's like, "Stacey, can you do me a favor? Can you do this commercial for the Monsters of the Midday?" when he was doing it for Jiggets
Yeah.
and North.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to read spots. And I, at that time, everything was free. Everybody was, he was just doing it for free and everything. So I would do it. And he always was very thankful for that. So then I started doing ESPN hits on his show. When he's working at ESPN, I would come on and talk about the Bulls. He would always call me to do that. And he has not changed a bit. And that's one thing that I really like about him, that he stayed true to who he really was. Just like
That's
you,
why
George. George, you haven't changed either.
Really?
He's mellowed. George has mellowed over the years.
I'm telling you, I'm listen. When you used to give the updates on the radio, like that's like the voice. I just say he's got a great voice. Yeah. And then when I saw him, I'm like, it's this little bitty dude. Like, I always thought I thought it was this big guy, because he had this really good strong voice. I'm big on voices, and so when you meet people with good voices, sometimes you just caught off guard of what they actually look like. It's like, this little voice, this little man's got this big voice. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like Eddie Olczyk, who's always called me the jockey. He's always called me the jockey. Oh, he's so small, he's the jockey. He's in this book. Foley's in this book. Chelios is in this book. Bill Wennington is in this book. He's got a great story. Remember, he grew up in Montreal, and of course he was playing hockey until they couldn't make a skate big enough for his feet.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, George, it's an amazing read. We enjoy the podcast. And tell the folks again one more time how they can get a copy of the book.
Well, tell me a story I don't know. It really, up until next Tuesday, you can order it, a pre-order on Amazon Books. Next week, it'll be available in all the bookstores here in Chicago and still online and at Amazon Books. And I hope you buy a copy. The price is cheap, like Mad Magazine. It's just $22. And I hope it does well enough for Triumph Books that we can get the rest of the people that I couldn't get into the book into it. That's my goal, is to do part 2.
Well, George, thank you so much for joining us. Best of success with the book, and we look forward to visiting with you again. We'll try to think of some stories that you don't know. All right?
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
Wait, hold on, George. Then that reminds me. Then there's one quick test. Where was the first NCAA basketball tournament ever held?
I know it was 1939.
Yes.
Was it held in Oregon?
Yes, it was Oregon. Was one of the teams. I can't remember the other one. That's.
I don't remember where it was held, but I remember it was 1939. I don't know where it was held.
Oh,
where was it held? Is this? I didn't know where it was.
This guy doesn't even remember who the teams are. How you gonna critique him?
No, because I know he knows this.
Hold on a second. What is this? Stump the Stars?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know you know this.
Well, I remember Tim went to Northwestern, so there's got to be some kind of tie in there.
That's the key.
So it was that.
In it?
Yeah, that was the first NCAA.
It was played there, huh?
Yeah.
What was the name of the facility?
They had a basketball team back then?
Pat and Jim.
Okay.
The first,
Northwestern had a basketball team way back then?
They weren't very good then either.
Hey, George, like most of Tim's anecdotes, that one fell kind of flat. But
we're
used to that here on Give Me the Hot Sauce.
At least it wasn't X-rated. Like you like to suck toes or rub ears or some weird things he always digs up.
George wrote about it, so I
you had to challenge him on it.
I had to put him on the spot. Sorry, George.
All right, George. Sorry we brought this to a crashing halt. The rest of the interview was great, though.
The train went off the tracks, George.
As it always does.
And remember, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, so take that parrot and get a shirt.
And cut his hair, George. The afro's getting too long, buddy.
We got plenty more to come on Give Me the Hot Sauce. Keep it out of here. We hope you enjoyed our visit with our good buddy George Ofman. If you have a chance, pick up his book, available at all the popular bookstores coming up next week. It'd be great for the holidays with a sports fan in your life. And, I feel like I got to clarify something. I was talking about Mike Greenberg when I first met him. Mike Greenberg is an incredible talent. So, what happens is somebody might tell him, hey, there was this podcast and somebody was ripping on you. And I'm like, I'm thinking, that would be bad. If they play the clip on his show, Get Up, it's like, they were taking shots at you in Chicago.
No, they'd be like Mark Shanowski was, not Stacey, his boy. Wasn't me and Whispers.
So, Mike, you are a tremendous talent. We're sorry if we're telling stories out of school.
No, he's sorry, Mark. Mark is sorry. Hey, don't put me in there. It wasn't me, America. Wasn't me.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of baseball. There was a shocking story earlier this week. David Ross let go by the Cubs, and they're bringing in Craig Counsell from the rival Milwaukee Brewers to manage the team. And, the thought was Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer loved David Ross. They brought him in as a veteran catcher. was celebrated. He was carried off the field after they won the World Series and was so highly thought of by Cub fans. Then you get to become a manager, 162 games a year, and it seems like the manager always takes the blame. So there's hundreds of decisions you make. Some work, some don't. You play every day.
Well, and then also remember that, he's a new manager. So there's going to be growing pains with how he manages the team because, he's used to being a guy who manages a game as a catcher. But that's totally different than when you get into that dugout and you have to call, you have to really manage a team now, So I thought it was premature. You can't be to blame for the way that team, kind of imploded at the end. I mean, there was a point where they were fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah,
they had like 97% chance of making the playoffs in early September.
And their pitching let them down. There was injuries, that they had to endure. And then they didn't hit the ball early in the season where they were struggling or late. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, man, I mean, the managers they're hired to be fired. Same thing with NBA coaches. Those guys are hired to be fired. And at the end of the day, management's going to make the decision what's best for their team.
If you haven't seen it, we are recording on Thursday evening. David Ross did his first interview. He's living in Tallahassee, Florida. He did an interview with the local paper, and one of his quotes, he said, quote, "If my boss doesn't think I'm a good manager, then he should move on. I don't fault him for that. If he doesn't think I'm the right guy, that's his job. That's his choice. I have my own thoughts and opinions that I will keep to myself." And I'm sure Rossi feels like if he would have given a chance with the resources the Cubs have and their ability to go out in free agency this winter and make trades, he could lead this team to a division championship next year. We're talking about the fact that the team struggled late, but their two best relief pitchers, Adbert Alzolay and Michael Fulmer, were out with injuries. The pitching staff was running on fumes. And when you have no great pitching options, a manager's not going to look good because every guy you put out there is gassed.
No. And again, I would have liked to see them give him the resources that he needs to succeed. And, unless the players, like he lost the players and he lost the locker room, which I don't think he has. I think he's still respected in that locker room by all the players. So that wasn't an issue. It comes down to performance. It comes down to availability. Who's available? Are your main guys showing up every day, 162 games? Are they showing up every single day? No. I mean, so what can you do as a manager? When you're missing guys, same thing in the NBA. If you got your star players are sitting out and missing games and you're losing games because those guys are out of the lineup. I mean, what is a coach to do? I got to play with what I got. Yeah. And unfortunately, what I got is not enough.
And there are going to be some reinforcements coming in. I think this move signals the Cubs are going to be very aggressive this offseason. They're rumored to be one of the top teams in on Shohei Ohtani. That could get too expensive for their blood, but I'm sure they're going to make a very serious bid to re-sign Cody Bellinger. There's a number of top pitchers out there, including a guy from Japan who they've scouted heavily. Bellinger? Where do you think he's going to go, Yankees?
He's not coming back, man.
He wants 12 years, $300 million.
Yeah, he's not coming back, dude. So that's wishful thinking for Cubs fans. I hate to break that news to you. Dun, 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 dun. Breaking news. He's not coming back. Okay, when he gave his little address, the media speech at the end,
right? Yeah,
it was obvious.
He thanked everybody.
It was obvious he wasn't coming back because if it was a guy coming back, Mark, and he said, "Hey, we're going to be at the negotiating tables.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll work things out." No, it was like, "Well, I'm leaving." And thank you very much for this little.
I enjoyed my 1 year.
My 1 year here. I appreciate it. I'm opting out. I'm out of here, and I hope to see you guys soon. Chicago's a great city. So he wasn't coming back. And then unless you really are going to spend the money that's going to take to get Ohtani, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be in the same boat as the Yankees and those guys. Because the Yankees, if they want Ohtani, they're going to go out and go get him.
Right, they've got the money.
They got the money. And then there's rumors that Trout may be moving from, to the, moving from the Angels as well.
Yeah.
And you got Bryce Harper trying to recruit him to come play in Philly. Could you imagine him coming back to the East Coast and playing on the Phillies team that should have probably went to the World Series?
Yeah.
And then they ran into a hot team. It's like, this World Series was pretty interesting this year. It was, seriously, because neither one of those teams were expected to be there.
No, not at all.
It was a complete
they
shock.
Both lost 100 games.
It was a complete shock. So that just goes to show you that baseball is so unpredictable.
Kind of wide open. College football. What do you like from the weekend? And we're not going to talk about Bedlam because that'd be throat punches all around. I know Dean wants to play a video, but we're not going to let him.
Listen. When you're the number one team in the country, Georgia. like I am. My Bulldogs are number one team in the country. I don't know anybody else. We're just happy to be there. We're not playing our best football right now, but we're doing what it takes to win in Georgia. Okay,
Yeah.
so there we are right there. See, Ohio State. I don't even know why they're number one. Oh, they are number one? Is that real?
That's the college football rankings. In the polls,
They're not the
Georgia's
coaches'
number
poll.
one.
Georgia's
No,
number
right.
one. Okay.
That's just based on the fact that Ohio State's played 2 teams in the top 15 and Georgia hasn't.
Okay, because I was getting ready to jump to Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I don't have to now. So Georgia's number one. Let me tell you something right now. If that was the actual 4, okay, Florida State is the weakest of the 4.
Terrible conference.
Oh my goodness. They are not the number 4 best team in the country. I would look at right now, if you look at, I would say Ole Miss would beat them, Alabama would beat them, Texas would beat them, Oregon and Washington. Every one of those teams would beat Florida State. That's terrible.
Yeah.
They're not the 4th best team. So I'll be glad when they go to 12. And they go to 12 next year?
Next year, yeah. That's going to be a lot more fun.
That's going to be a lot more fun because you're going to see some teams that maybe, really ranked lower. They have a chance to win the national championship.
Right.
Because Georgia right now is not as strong as they have been the last couple of years. They are beatable this year. Okay. Ohio State, to me, I think Michigan is better than Ohio State. And they're going to prove that when they play later on.
Yeah, in a couple weeks.
But you got to wonder how much of that little, the video gate is going to hurt Michigan. Because it's been. I mean, they're basically digging deep to find out what else have they done. What else has Harbaugh done? It's like, well, Harbaugh's over there cheating. Come on, Jim. Come on, huh?
Khaki Gate.
I don't understand why you need to do that. He does such a great job of recruiting. He's got a powerhouse team. He's built a powerhouse there since he's been there. There's no need
but
to do
it's
that.
kind of a stupid rule because all the teams are scouting their opponents. They just were clumsy enough to get caught.
But how many people are putting people in the stands with fake mustaches?
Yeah,
and
that's
hats and
just
stealing
dumb.
signs?
That's just flat
You know
out
what I'm saying? That's where it's cheating. That's cheating.
But who credentialed them?
Well, that's a good point. But if you're at a home game, who cares? Because you're on their side, you're on that side of the field anyway. You're in a home game, so you could probably get away with it. But there's no need to cheat because his team is really, really good. And
they got a big game coming up on Saturday. They go to Penn State.
Penn State's a. Let me tell you something about Penn State, America. Penn State's a front runner. Penn State beats up on the Sisters of the Poor. They go in with a 4-0 record and got just manhandled by Ohio State. And I know they were playing on the road, but when you come in as a number 4 team in the country, they didn't look like a number 4 team in the country. And Michigan is going to just dog walk them this weekend. Dog walk them this weekend. And I guarantee. Make sure you put that down, D.
Yeah, I think I heard that last week in regards
Mark,
to
you know what, Mark? That's uncalled for. Okay, I did say Oklahoma was going to guarantee a victory. They cheated.
How'd they cheat?
They cheated. There was a pass interference. It was not called on a touchdown on a guy that was in the end zone, and he literally tackled the guy. Should have been a pass interference. We would have put us at the 1-yard line and would gave us a chance to run it in. I'm not making excuses, America. Okay, because I didn't go to Oklahoma. Okay, I'm just trying to say. Yeah. I'm just saying, Georgia, we like to see good football, and what really makes this whole thing sad though is it's the last time we'll play Oklahoma State in Bedlam, unless we see them in a bowl game somewhere, which they're not good enough to get to a bowl game, unless they play in the Frosted Flakes Bowl and the Tony the Tiger Bowl. I don't know, they're not in the big bowls. Okay, they play in the toilet bowl. That's what they call the toilet bowl games, But
not salty at all.
No, not salty at all. This will be the last time we play them, and it's really sad because they're big brother, little brother. We smack them in the head a lot, and it's not going to be the same not being able to play against them, and going to the SEC where we're going to be in there with the big dogs now, as we belong.
Normally we talk Bears with our good buddy Mark Grote from The Score, but as I mentioned, we're recording on a Thursday evening. The Bears are just about getting ready to kick off against the Carolina Panthers in the battle for the draft pick. Right now, the Arizona Cardinals have the worst record in the league at 1-7, I believe. The Panthers are second, and the Bears are third. So right now, in the draft, the Bears would have the second and third picks. You see Caleb Williams lost again. USC lost to Oregon last week, and he was spotted crying in the stands. A lot of people came down on him saying he's soft, but I mean, you can show emotion. This is a college game against a big rival. it's okay. I think to show a little
He
emotion.
said he had to paint his nails and hug his puppy. That's what.
Oh,
Well,
there
let me
you
tell
go.
you
See,
something.
you're the kind of guy that rips
he's a
it.
bully.
Yeah.
He's a cyber bully, America. Okay. First of all, give me a guy who cares.
Yeah.
Give me a guy who cares. Give me a guy that it bothers him that it loses. I had no problem with that. You know what? The kid cares. It was a big game. You know, listen, when your team can put up as many points as they can and your defense gives up, come on, man. Your defense has got to stop somebody.
terrible. Yeah.
I mean, come all year long. I mean, you put up 42 points against Washington and couldn't close the deal. That 42 points on any other Alabama is a blowout. 42 points with Georgia
Yeah,
is a
you should
blowout.
win that game
okay?
easily.
You gave up 52 points to Washington. And it's been going on all year long. They fired the defensive coordinator finally. Finally. Somebody up top said, "Hey, Lincoln, let me tell you something, bro.
Got to do something.
You got to go. You got to go, man.
Yeah.
Either you got to go, or we're going to let you go." Okay? So they let him go.
It's not the offense that's
No, it's
hurting
not the
USC.
offense.
They can't stop anybody.
But if you're playing for that number one pick, I still don't know if Caleb Williams is the number one pick in my book. I just don't. I think, you know, when I saw him, you know, against really good defense, Notre Dame had a good defense and he struggled. He had struggled reading the open receivers. Even Washington had some pretty good guys out on the field. He struggled. And you got to remember, he's not, you know, people want to get rid of Justin Fields, okay? People are, these Justin Fields haters, okay? Let's not forget, Justin Fields, 6'3", runs a 4.4 40, okay? Caleb Williams is about 5'10". He's little. He's small, under like maybe 6 feet tall. You be careful what you ask for.
yeah.
If I'm the Bears, I'm getting Marvin Harrison. If I get the number one pick, I'm trading it. I'm trading down, and I'm gonna get me some defensive help, defensive linemen, and some offensive
And a left tackle. You need a
left
good
tackle.
Yeah.
And that number 2 pick, I'm getting Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what I'm getting.
So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out and what the draft odds look like after this game is played. Bears will have 10 days until their next game. I think they play the Lions next, and
Here's an
hopefully
interesting
Justin
scenario.
Fields is back then.
Here's an interesting scenario. What if the Bears draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and then in a couple of years get Arch Manning? It'd be Manning to Harrison combination revisited.
Oh, how about that?
Woo! That's breaking news,
Look
baby.
into your crystal ball. It could be
That would be a
something
great
to get
thing.
excited about in
That's
the future.
something to get excited about.
You know, Caleb Williams said that, you know, after the loss, he wanted to just cuddle up with his dog and watch his shows, which leads us to our favorite segment, What
Did he
Are
say
We
that for
Watching?
real?
Yeah.
I thought Tim was messing around.
No, he did say that.
And paint his nails.
He didn't say to paint his nails.
Well, that was
he
last
does
week.
paint his nails on occasion, but he didn't. That wasn't part of the quote.
Just want to cuddle up with his dog, huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he paints his dog's
Now,
nails.
Stacey's going to 180 all of a sudden.
You can listen. Me personally, America, I'm cuddling up with something other than a dog.
There you go.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we watching this week? Stacey, you got some recommendations?
Yeah, you know what? I've been, you know, one of my favorite shows is The Boys on Prime.
Yeah.
And so now they have like a prequel to that to show you, you know, how it was created, the superpower stuff was created. It's called Gen V. There it is right there, Gen V, and it's like a university full of kids who are superheroes.
Yeah.
They all have different superpowers, and it's pretty intense. My son got me to watch it,
Wow.
and it's a great spinoff.
It's kind of like Professor X with those.
Yeah, it's like the X-Men
Yeah.
college. Yeah, it's just like that.
Is it nasty though, like the boys?
Yeah, it's nasty. Let me tell you something. Oh, America. I'll tell you, I don't think children should be watching this. Let me give you a little illustration. There's a girl who can shrink down to make herself like a little tiny person.
Oh boy.
And then so this guy, another superhero guy wanted her to come in here and he's like, hey, you know, I need you to get me off. I want you to go down to your little self and, you know, America, I can't go anymore, America.
Yeah, I think we'll stop there.
We'll stop
Stop
right
right
there.
about there.
Yeah.
I got the visual.
You can picture the rest.
Good, yeah.
I'll tell you about it when we go to break.
Whispers, what do you got?
I watched the documentary on Sly, which was really good, and then watched the Pain Hustlers, which is kind of continuation of a different drug company, but pretty much the same thing of what happened with OxyContin.
Is that the same story done the third time? And
No. Well, this was a movie that just 2 hours with Emily Blunt and Captain America, and it was really well done. But the Sly documentary was really well done too.
Is that just a one-part thing, or?
It's just that's just a one-parter. Both very well done. You know, you like Sly and that whole battle between him and Arnold. If you watch the Arnold documentary, it's really funny. Who had the bigger gun?
Arnold's
who had the
son
bigger
is in the
muscles,
Gen V, though.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's in Gen V.
Oh,
Yeah, he's in Gen V.
I know you guys are both big fans of stand-up comedy, and a lot of times I'll watch a show on Netflix or something, and one of the guys I really like is Sebastian Maniscalco, who travels the country and really good stand-up act. But he decided that he would try to branch out into the world of feature films. I think he should have stayed with his stand-up act because Robert De Niro, who's God bless him, he's what, in his 80s now, and he's done a lot of comedy roles lately. The movie is called About My Father. It's currently on Starz. It's probably been on other outlets as well. But it is so painful because De Niro's good as the father, but Sebastian Maniscalco trying to act, he comes up a little bit short. And the scripted lines, which Maniscalco actually wrote the script for this thing, and you'd think that it would have been a little funnier. So if you haven't watched it yet and you're looking for something funny, that is not the movie to watch.
I'll tell you, listen, America, I'll tell you another movie to watch. Okay, listen, not a movie, but a documentary. David Beckham's.
I've heard that.
I'm going to tell you something. Let me say something, America. I did not know Beckham was as good as he was until I watched this documentary. Seriously, I just thought he was just a pretty face guy, just model, married,
Bend it like Beckham.
Married a Spice Girl because she got most of the attention. Yeah. And then when I watched this documentary, he is one of the best players in the world. When you leave that documentary, you go, man, he's on the same level, as Ronaldo and all these guys. Yeah. Now he came before Messi and all those guys. But man, I tell you what, I watched that documentary. It's like a 3 or 4 part documentary, and I was highly impressed. I went away going, man, I did not know he was that good. His right foot, the way he can kick a ball from almost half the football field and get a goal. Yeah. Was amazing. One of the coaches called the right foot of God. Like he did that throughout his whole career. I mean, very, very good. And it shows you, where he comes from, his family. He had to go through all these trials and tribulations because they just thought he was a pretty face. And it just gives you all kind of, it's an awesome,
on Netflix.
Yeah. It is awesome documentary. I stress everybody to watch it. And he's a family guy. It shows what they had to go through, the paparazzi with him and his wife, and they had to deal with. He had to sneak away from, his coaches, one of his coaches from Manchester United. They used to make it difficult for him to see her. They wanted him to not have any kind of social life at all, just strictly football. And he used to sneak away, even if it was for 5 minutes, to go see Victoria Beckham. And he would come back to the game, and he was so in love with her that when they were apart, it really hurt his game.
Can she shrink down to size?
Hey, listen.
Well, as he mentioned, it only took him 5 minutes.
Hey. See, America, this is what I got to deal with. I say one little perverted thing about Gen V, and then they're going to use it on Victoria Beckham, Posh Spice. Okay, so no, she can't shrink down, but if she could, it'd be awesome.
She was spicy,
real spicy.
So we know Mike is out there with the Doublemint twins.
Yes.
Tell the folks how they can use the services of Windy City Limousine.
Okay, well, I've been waiting for this one. Windy City Limousine provides championship service. Making a reservation is so easy, it's a slam dunk. Let Windy City break the full court pressure of traffic and get you to your destination in style and on time. Yeah. Contact Windy at 847-916-9300. That's 847-916-9300. Or visit WindyCityLimos.com.
And Mike will take women of any size.
Yeah. Listen.
You where you gotta
and
go.
as for Mike Almaroth, he's the best driver in the fleet, and he's my personal driver. When I call, get my drive, they already know. Mike, I don't know what to ask. Mike's my guy.
Yeah, we're coming back from Denver, and I saw Mike on the tarmac scurrying to get Stacey Spags.
What are you talking about scurrying?
Well, okay, I'm trying to paint a word picture
First of all, America. Okay, as you know, I'm recovering from hip surgery.
There you go.
And
you just told everybody you're fine now.
I'm fine now. I wasn't fine when
4 days ago.
I wasn't fine 4 days ago. I had my little pimp cane on the tarmac, and so Mike was kind enough to come out there, and knowing that I couldn't carry all my bags, he got my bags and he brought them to the
car. He said, "Yes, Mr. King. I'd be happy to get the bags for you."
See, look at that. How many times did Mike volunteer to give Mark a ride? Wow, that's terrible.
It's over now.
It's over. You get no more rides, Mark. None. We already kicked Adam out of the car. Adam don't want to give a tip, so we kicked him out.
Hey, if you're watching Bulls Pistons on Sunday, I'll get a chance to do another game with Stacey. So I'm looking
He's
forward to it.
back,
We're going to have a lot of
America.
fun.
He's back, America. Oh, Lord, we're going to have so much fun. Oh, the Gimme the hot sauce takeover, baby. We're
There you
taking
go.
over.
People are looking for whispers. They want you to do sideline.
He's never coming.
I'll just pop up in the back and say something
Yeah.
creepy. I can
That
do
would
it.
work. That's
would-
about all they need from you, I think.
That's what they're looking for.
That would do it.
Just come up from behind with your shirt off and just be all red. Then everybody will know that's you. Just
Let's say,
walk
did you
in-
paint your chest? And go, no, I'm just naturally that way.
naturally red. Just be red. It'd be like Hellboy. Just look like Hellboy red. Yeah.
Same like the court for the in-season tournament.
That's right.
It's all red.
Oh, we wouldn't be able to find you. He just lay
you
down
just
on the
blend
floor.
right in.
You just lay on the floor. The team would run right over him. Don't even know he was there.
I'll trip opposing players.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
Great
What
strategy.
did you think about that? What did you think about the court?
I think it looks a lot like me.
See
I
red.
think it looks
permanently.
great. I like it a lot, actually.
Did you?
Didn't get them fired up, but it looks.
That was
looks
another
good.
close game that got away. Lost that one by
Yeah,
2.
well, just like the Bears tonight, the best 2-7 team in the league. Let's go, Bears!
It's all about draft position. There's Larry the Lobster.
Larry the
yeah.
Lobster.
Yeah.
Oh, D.
Whispers.
No pizza for you.
No, I think that's a Cisco creation. Hey, we want to thank our guest, George Ofman. Run out and get his book, Tell Me a Story I Don't Know, available at all your favorite bookstores. Want to thank D for holding down the fort all by himself. Everybody else went over the hill. They were hit by cars or something like that. And we will come back next week with a brand new show. So until then, Stacey.
Drive home safe in Chicago. Beep, beep.
Oh my goodness! It's only preseason, but I'm hyped till 5.